Hi. As we all know, your passport is the most essential document when it comes to traveling. But not all passports are created equally. If you're wondering which one allows you into the most places, you've come to the right one. Let's talk about what makes a passport strong first. There are multiple factors when it comes to passport strength. The first is income. People from countries which have higher GDP per capita enjoy a lot of visa-free destinations, while the opposite happens in low-income countries. This can be explained by two factors. First, countries are more willing to open their borders to wealthier countries because it will bring more financial benefits. Second, people from wealthier nations are less likely to migrate to other countries illegally. For instance, owing to economic concerns about visa overstay, the USA removed Argentina and Uruguay from its visa waiver program in the early 2000s. Another significant predictor of travel freedom is fragility. Increased fragility has a similar effect on ease of travel as income, though in the opposite direction. But what is domestic fragility? One of the primary indicators of it is the level of violence in a country, measured by things like terrorist attacks, organized crime, etc. Some other indicators can be elite factionalization, state legitimacy, and the size of an internally displaced population. According to the Fragile States Index generated by the Fund for Peace, countries that are more fragile have lower travel freedom. The explanation is that these countries fall into the high-risk category for security, asylum, and overstay. As a result, countries such as Somalia, South Sudan, and Syria have some of the lowest visa-free scores. However, there are exceptions like Venezuela, a country that has been embroiled in civil strife since the disputed 2018 presidential elections, enjoys a relatively high visa-free score. On the other hand, certain significantly more stable countries, such as Oman and Mongolia, have low visa-free scores. Citizens from unstable countries not only lack visa-free access to the vast majority of countries, they are also less likely to obtain a visa when they apply for one, creating another barrier for travel freedom. Overall, visa applications from countries with higher levels of fragility are more likely to be rejected. There are, however, important exceptions. For example, more than 80% of visa applications by Iranians were rejected in 2020. In contrast, less than 20% of visa applications by Turkish nationals were rejected, even though the two countries score similarly on the Fragility Index. This indicates that in addition to considerations about fragility, geopolitics may play a role in determining travel freedom. Another important factor is the reciprocal visa agreements between countries. This refers to the agreements between countries to waive visa requirements for each other's citizens. The more reciprocal agreements a country has, the stronger its passport is. Now, let's get into the strongest passports. According to the Henley Passport Index Q1 2023 fact sheet, as of January 10, 2023, Japan has the strongest passport in the world for the 5th consecutive time, with visa-free access to 193 countries currently. This means that citizens of Japan can travel to 193 countries without a visa, or with visa on travel. Following closely behind are Singapore and South Korea, with visa-free access to 192 countries. Other countries with strong passports include Germany and Spain with 190 countries, Finland, Italy, and Luxembourg with 189 countries. Having a strong passport brings a lot of benefits. It can save time and money on obtaining visas. It can also make it easier to work, study, or do business in other countries. And for many people, having a strong passport can also bring a sense of pride and prestige. Now, why is the Japanese passport so strong? There are many reasons for this, but to name a few, Japan is one of the wealthiest countries in the world, with a very high disposable income. Greater disposable income means that the Japanese people automatically qualify as potential tourists who would be ready to spend more on their travels compared to most people. This means more tourism revenue for the host country. Therefore, the more Japanese travel to other countries, the better. Besides, Japanese people really don't mind paying a good price for something of premium quality. The Japanese people are not known to illegally immigrate to other countries. In most cases, their own country's standard of living is already much higher than the country they're traveling to. Therefore, they are a safe bet for immigration authorities all over the world. Japan is seen as a peaceful, quiet, and respectful society. They are not disorderly, abide by rules, and have an unparalleled sense of social dignity. So their sense of discipline and public consideration means that they are less likely to commit crimes and antisocial activities. Japan doesn't have an ideological war with any country. Sure, there are historical problems with China and Korea, but they still have a very civilized form of political disagreement with them, instead of tearing each other apart with wars or terrorism. This makes them a very safe demographic for any other country. Japan has been one of the largest donors of foreign aid all over the world, and over the years has created tremendous goodwill in developing countries. Basically, the Japanese are viewed as polite, civilized, hardworking, wealthy, intelligent, and safe people in most countries around the world. That's why every country on the planet welcomes them with open arms. Okay, we've covered the strongest passports, but what about the opposite? Afghanistan passport holders can only travel to 27 countries without a visa. Right after Afghanistan, Syria, and Iraq also have very weak passports, with visa-free access to only 30 and 29 countries respectively. Other countries with weak passports include Pakistan with 32 countries, Yemen with 34 countries, and Somalia with 38 countries. But can passports get stronger over time? Of course they can. There are lots of ways to make a passport stronger. A country can negotiate reciprocal visa agreements with other countries, or work to improve its economy, political stability, and reputation to be granted visa-free access to more countries. Some countries also offer citizenship by investment programs to attract wealthy individuals, which can also help. Additionally, many countries are also part of regional organizations, such as the European Union or the African Union, where member countries have agreements to grant visa-free travel to each other's citizens. Becoming a member of such organization can also help a country to improve the strength of its passport. Now, if this video has made you feel bad about your passport, don't worry. You're not stuck with it. You can get a strong passport. As you know, it's through citizenship. Getting a second citizenship can be tough and time-consuming, but it's not impossible. There are several ways to do it, such as naturalization. In most countries around the world, you can acquire citizenship in a country by first becoming a legal resident and then maintaining that residency for a certain number of years. Some countries make it harder than others for foreigners to obtain residency and citizenship. In the United States, immigration rules make it difficult for foreigners to obtain a green card, but in Panama, for example, the process is very quick, affordable, and easy. After 5 years, you can apply to become a Panamanian citizen. In some countries, you don't even need to actually spend significant amounts of time in the country to become eligible to apply for a second passport. It's still advisable to demonstrate strong ties to the country in order to be approved, though. This is a great option for people who do not want to uproot their lives right away, but want a place to go no matter what happens in the world, and a second passport a few years down the line. Keep in mind, however, that residency and passport opportunities change frequently. They are heavily subject to the laws of supply and demand. Another way of getting a second citizenship is investment. It's called economic citizenship or citizenship by investment, and is a legitimate way to buy a second passport and citizenship. It's the fastest way to acquire a second passport. There are numerous ways you can do this. The first is that you make an outright donation to the government in exchange for citizenship. The second is that you make an actual investment in property, financial instruments, or businesses. It can range from a couple $100,000 to several $1 million. If you think this is the right choice for you, there are several options that offer passports of varying quality. The Caribbean has 5 active programs that will grant you and your family citizenship, starting at $110,000 for singles and $150,000 for a family of 4. St. Lucia, as well as Antigua and Barbuda, have even gone on a COVID sale to attract economic citizens to the countries, which rely on tourism and have been hit hard by the pandemic. Their passports are decent, but the highest quality passports by investment are from Europe. Cyprus will require you to fork out over $2 million for a passport, but Malta will give you citizenship for just $880,000. In conclusion, the strength of a passport is determined by a combination of factors, including visa-free access, reciprocal visa agreements, and a country's reputation and stability. Having a strong passport can bring many benefits. Efforts to improve the strength of a passport can take many forms and can have broader implications for a country and its citizens. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.